Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg are 3 for 3 in their collaboration so far, so is this another hit? Not exactly. I'm John Hayeck, and welcome to my movie thoughts. Mile 22. So this movie is an escort mission where basically Mark Wahlberg and his elite team of like special ops are trying to transport this one guy from one location to another. Once they get him to a safe location, he's going to give them this code that will stop bad stuff from happening. Basically, he has this like this code to like this master weapon type of thing that could basically combine the effects of like huge atom bomb explosions, but on a much more like street level scale. And this is a movie that overall I didn't have too many expectations for, because I saw the trailer and it's like from Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg. I'm like, whoa, these guys are making another movie together. Like, where's the press for this thing? And why am I just seeing this trailer like a month before the movie comes out? The trailer didn't totally wow me, so going in, I'm like, alright, so we've got, like, Mark Wahlberg and his elite team of special forces, like, what cool, like, action sequences are we gonna get in this movie? This movie is ultimately an action movie that focuses way more on the politics of the action and focuses way more on trying to be like clever and smart and snappy and everything than it is on being an action movie and it is being on an escort mission movie. Because if you just focus on the escort mission part of the movie, which is basically like the last half hour to 35 or 40 minutes of this movie, then that would have been pretty neat, like seeing all these stops and seeing like all these crazy things happening while they're trying to get this guy from point A to point B. That would have been fine enough. But the fact that the first like half of the movie is basically just focusing on Mark Wahlberg's unlikable character and Lauren Cohen's drama with her family, I'm like, alright, this doesn't feel like it's being set up in an organic way. It just feels like these are kind of like things thrown in about these characters that aren't necessarily organically part of them. I feel like they're like, oh, hey, these characters aren't really likable, so let's just give them stuff to make them more likable. I felt like it was just kind of shoehorn stuff in, and like I said, in Mark Wahlberg's case, he's just really unlikable. I feel like he didn't do anything to really win me over as a character. He has this like kind of weird like nervous tick type of thing that he does, and they like kept going back to that movie, and I'm like, I don't know why we need this. It just feels like an extra thing that was thrown in that didn't really need to be there. Lauren Cohen, I think, gives a pretty good performance in the movie, so there is that to like, but I think that besides that, Mark Wahlberg is so unlikable that I couldn't really get behind the character team as a whole, and I'm like, I can't really get behind this team. Like, why am I rooting for him to get this guy from point A to point B? The action sequences as well are very choppily shot and very strangely edited, I'll give you that. I think that what happened is, like, it's, you know how, like, in the Bourne movies, like, things kind of are, shot at one angle and shot at another angle and shot at another angle, and they're all kind of, like, going, like, back and forth to make the action seem very, like, on the ground and stuff. I feel like Peter Berg might have gotten the idea from those movies to try that for this movie, but it ultimately did not pan out at all, because it just comes across as very shaky, and, like, I felt like I was, like, having an anxiety attack the entire thing just watching some of these action sequences like shift back and forth. And again, the action sequences, so some of them are pretty good despite that weird shooting. There just isn't enough of them, because like I said, the last act of the movie is like this escort mission, but the first like act and a half or so is basically just like setting up this escort mission and trying to like get you behind these characters and like make you care about what's going on and stuff, but it's boring. So when the editing is so choppy, you feel like you're anxious, but when nothing's really happening in the movie, you feel bored, and it was just this like weird like feeling that I had watching the movie. I'm like, I'm bored, but I'm also like tense this whole time. I'm like shaking, but I also don't care. So I just checked out at a couple of points in the movie. I'm like, alright, well, I mean, this movie, it feels like it's trying to be so above itself, but it also is just so not above itself that I just couldn't get into it. So guys, Mile 22, it's not the biggest win from Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg, not something I recommend you guys go out and check out. I do think Lauren Cohen gives a pretty good performance in the movie, and the opening action sequence was quite good as well, though the movie does end on such a poor note as well that I feel like this is not something that anybody's really gonna walk out thinking, yeah, the ending was so worth it, because I thought, I'm like, you know what, if the ending redeems it, maybe. But the movie's basically setting up to this one thing, and then that thing is kind of undermined by the ending, and it feels like, alright, so do we have to see a sequel now? Because I thought that the way this movie was gonna end is this way, but the movie doesn't end that way, so are we supposed to get that ending in the sequel? Like, it was a very weird thing, but they're not going to make a sequel to this movie if it didn't make its money back. But with that said, guys, let me know all of your thoughts on this movie in the comment section down below. You guys go over to mymoviethoughts.com, follow me on Twitter at John Hayeck, and subscribe to the YouTube channel for tons more posts from me. Links to all three of those are in the comment section, or are in the description down below. You guys can also like this video, comment on it, share it with some friends. I am John Hayeck, as always. Thank you guys so much for watching.